Well, we're at Flatcon 2023 here in Bloomington, Illinois, and this is why I haven't posted videos for a long time. I'm putting on an event this weekend, and it has all these tables. I'll go over those in a little bit, and some additional models and things. So my effort had to be fully into this, preparing the event, doing the materials, the rules. It is a narrative event. I'll mention that occasionally throughout this. And of course, there's a lot of terrain I needed to build and paint to get this thing completely ready. So let's take a look first at some of the models I had to deal with before actually getting into the tables. All right, one of the key aspects of this narrative campaign is it's a team event, Axis versus Allied, and essentially there's a story behind the 3 rounds. And as we go to the tables, we'll talk about that. But I wanted to give each team access to what I call strategic assets. Anything from like a major, Gestapo major, extra, like inexperienced squads, demolition teams, or fire artillery missions. So no one can buy or have any of the artillery observers or forward air observers because the strategic assets cover that. There's aircraft and forward artillery observers that the team can purchase, so one player might have access to it. Some machine guns for coastal defense. You'll see that as we go through the tables. Fortifications. These are minefields, trenches, barbed wire. The Axis have 3 assault landing craft, like Higgins boats, and a German invasion barge. Those are from Sarissa, and so of course I had to build and paint those. Half of these I've already owned, but the Messerschmitt, there's a BF-110, 109G, the Koryu KI-45, 2 FW-190s. That's the F with the heavy bomb, and that's the regular A with the autocannons and machine guns, and then of course the Zero. The team can have up to 2 aircraft on their side. So of course there was a lot of preparation by getting some of these models painted that I didn't have already built or painted. I did get some help from Dave for some of the German guys. Matter of fact, yeah, most of the German guys, these are mine. The rest are all his, except for the intelligence officer. But anyway, so there's work involved in that. Now let's take a look at the Allied strategic assets. All right, so the Allies have a little bit more, a lot of the same stuff though. Machine gun teams for coastal defense, the fortifications they're access to. The same thing with intelligence officers, demolition teams, fire missions. They have 7 aircraft to choose from though. A French BR-693, which I had to build and paint. P-47 with rockets and bombs, which I had to build and paint. 2 Sturmovix, one with and one without rockets. Both have bombs, so I had to build and paint those. Those 3, P-38, P-51, and the other P-47 were already built. I had those since I was a kid. 2 gliders. That's the Horsa glider from Sarissa, and it's 1/72 scale, so it's kind of out of proportion, but considering how large the Waco is, again from Sarissa, if this thing were scaled up, man, that would be a massive. But anyway, these are things the Allies have access to in this narrative campaign. So of course, building and painting, that's a lot of what this was. But let's take a look at table designs, because the tables took a lot more time, especially in the port city, which we'll see at the end. That is where a lot of my time was spent. All right, for this event, I essentially have 2 tables for the rounds 1 and 2, and 1 table for round 3. But notice this one table is 22 feet long. There's 3 4x6 mats and a 4x4 over here. It is one continuous table, and 4 players or 5 players on each side up to, max. Really, I think it's going to be 4 on each side, will struggle over the various objectives. Now, in this case, it's control the hill, which will give them advantages in round 3. Over here, bridge. You've seen this bridge if you've watched the Clash of Heroes Season 1. That's the bridge over the Versan. I did add some gussets to strengthen it up a bit and painted it brown, but it's the focal point of this struggle for the bridge on this table. You Here we got a small farm village. I had just a few things to paint on this one. Over here I actually had to build all the elevated foam structures, which, yeah, that was a little bit of work. We've already seen that hill again in the first season of Clash of Heroes. Now we've got, as we get into this Sector 4, now we got a crossroads, well, basically a town square, and this is the only building on here I had to build. But just designing these tables to work together, that took a little bit of time, obviously. And of course, building up the actual terrain, the building I needed to. Now, if we had basically 9 or 10 players, we would also include this ruined village, and this would be Sector 5. So I had to design it just in case we had overflow. I designed this I have designed tables to handle 16 players. Pre-registration wasn't as large as I thought, so I had enough for the 8 I was pretty sure we were going to have, and I have 2 overflow. So this one is separate from the rest. So here, players can actually, though they're going to start on one map, there's nothing preventing them from crossing over to the other sector and lending fire support, or even attempting to accomplish their teammates' objectives if needed. So that's rounds 1 and 2. Round 1 is a firefight scenario. In this case, you're only trying to occupy whoever has most. There's 5 buildings closest to the town square. Whoever controls more of those than the opponent. Now, of course, with a firefight, your best bet is to run them off the table by causing them to break, by inflicting casualties. But should that fail, controlling space here is the other way to secure advantage. Over here, same thing, looking for to try to control the village. Essentially, again, by controlling whoever controls the most farmhouses. Barn is not included. This will give an advantage in round 3. This will give an advantage in round 3. They all do, basically. The bridge, again, starting with the firefight, they have to try to secure, at least make sure there's no enemy units within 3 inches of the bridge. They have to have units on the bridge and nothing within 3 inches on the top level. Not easy for firefight, but again, bridge fights are never easy. So again, key in firefight is to force the opponent to break. Now I had to build this river. This is the, I don't know if it's bad planning or just my insane imagination, but this is a single sheet of acetate, painted up for a river and textured on the banks. That was a bear to move, but I like the look of just the single unbroken piece of terrain. So that took a little bit more effort than I expected, but it was definitely worth it. Over here, it's just a matter of securing position on the hill. In round 1, most models on the terrain, 1 point per model on this tier, 2 points, 3 points. So whoever scores the most points kind of wins this one. This one's more likely to be won by models occupying the hill than it is to be won by attrition and causing another break. Now come round 2, the plan is to have everybody who was successful in round 1 leave their models on the table as in the surviving units that they had, and then have a combat patrol size 500-point list come in as reinforcements to help secure permanently, in this case the hill, that case the bridge, in that case the village, and obviously this case the entire town. Now in round 2, the only difference with this one is whoever controls the most buildings out of this entire sector here wins. This building is not counted for that. So there are an odd number of buildings, so it should be a little harder to get a draw, but you never know. And again, that's how you secure the advantage. So round 1 and 2, firefight, and then a combat patrol kind of level. And then winner, whichever team has the most objectives secured, essentially, and kind of not total victory points, but it's only the results of round 2 how well they've done. That determines who the attacker and defender is in round 3. So let's take a look at the round 3 tables. Alright, now this is round 3 table. This is a grand total of 27 feet long by 5 feet wide. The main thing here is an attack on a port city, and the winner of round 2, winning team, is the attacker. The losing team is defender. Defender gets set up anywhere on these tables. Attacker comes in actually along this table edge as attacker. Now, of course, there are strategic assets that allow them to use the waterways, and the waterways are designed to be part of this, to give the opponents an option. Obviously, there's landing craft, so they can try to come in through these beaches here, pull up alongside the docks here at any point, and offload troops. But of course, that team has to be smart enough to invest in those strategic assets. But anyway, we have a port facility here in this 4x6 section, the sector D. Got one warehouse and a bulk loading facility. These 2 buildings have to be captured by the end of the game. These all start in defenders' hands, all the objectives, and they stay that way until the attackers clear them and occupy both, in which case the objective would flip to the attacker's side, and it'll stay with the attacker until the defender retakes them. Same thing with, if the crane is going to be involved, we had enough players, this crane tile set would have to also be cleared of opponent, the defender, and then this would be under control. Crane is occupiable, so you can put sniper teams, even a sniper team up here like in last year's Flatcon table. But essentially it's a bunch of powerhouses, factories, and loading sheds. There is a dual track rail line going through, and the rail cars do provide some obscuring terrain, some cover in a lot of cases, and definitely obstruct vehicle movement. The railroad is rough ground. The single track continues on into Sector C. There is a grade crossing so wheeled vehicles can cross, but we have, in this case, the key objective is these 3 positions. We have a fuel depot, munitions depot, and the goods shed, which is essentially just the loading station. Those 3, and then if there's, again, enough players, we're going to have the rail station is the next objective. Now, Sector B, these are actually, I had to use the buildings in Sector 4 as well, so this will look kind of sparse until the round 3 starts. So we got a manor house, which is essentially where the HQ of the defender is, or at least is believed to be. And you got the Pegasus Bridge. The approach is the other objective. So objectives are kind of spaced out more or less evenly if we use the railroad side. So left-hand sector, you got 3 for the supply depot. You got the right-hand side as the rail station. Over here, you've got sort of center right is the manor, and then far right is the Pegasus Bridge. And of course, the Pegasus Bridge in all its glory. The next video series you're going to see is actually how to build or paint MDF kits to make them easier to paint in the long run. So, but I'm actually using the Pegasus Bridge kit to show that. In Sector A, the beach sector, we have several objectives. This will be some bloody fighting if it happens. We have the other side of the Pegasus Bridge, so the attacker or defender needs to occupy both to claim the bridge. Each objective, though, is a victory point for the side that owns it, so kind of a split mission there. This radar station, mostly the control house, is an objective, but they have to be sure, either side has to make sure this does not get destroyed if they control that. So the defender has to keep this alive as long as they control that. Attacker can destroy this if they cannot take that, and of course that nullifies this objective. Similarly, if the attacker is taking that, the defender can self-sabotage the radar station. Then we got 2 bunkers, and just like in Point du Hoc, There may or may not be guns in here, but the mission orders are to secure the bunkers. Now, fortunately, these are howitzer casemates, so flamethrowers and will definitely work. And attacking from the front and close combating from the front as well as the rear will be effective. Possibly, if we had many more players, we'd have this junction be another objective. So potentially there would be 5 objectives on here. The beach is actually elevated. Let me get a profile shot here. So the beach comes up from the sea, and on it you have, of course, hedgehogs, check hedgehogs. Now I've set these up as the defender might to not so much stop vehicles from coming up, but to channel them. So the way they're arranged, they're forcing the vehicles to come at this angle toward that objective, or sorry, that bunker, because this bunker's field of fire covers the beach, pretty much all of it, and the beach would be, the vehicle would be presenting side armor to whatever howitser's in there. So if that's a heavy howitzer, it's +4 pen. From the side is basically +5, so that's could damage anything. This is going to cover essentially this section of the beach. Now there's really no way to get side armor from the angles that are here, so that's the only one that's going to benefit from the side armor of the hedgehogs. I might change these up a little bit just to see if I can get a side armor forcing on that, but who knows. This is pretty much set up the way it is. So 4 by 6 tables plus almost 3 feet of river here, and all of this water is usable by the opponents. Now, in the strategic assets, there are obviously landing craft, but in the Russian Army's book, they have river patrol boats, and my decision to include this kind of water inspired one of them to go out and buy. Actually, you know him as Joker. Went out and bought 2 of them, so he'll be playing the Russian boats on this water. But again, there's a lot of watercraft in some of the Army lists as is, so those are available. And all of these tables on round 3 were presented to the players of the event in the form of recon photos. So they all saw what the table was going to look like, marked up with explaining kind of what's on there. That way they are able to build their lists knowing what they're going to face, either as attacker or defender in the round 3. And to make things easy on them, they were able to make 2 lists, one attacker list and one defender list. That way they're not trying to do a take-all-comers list, and they can really build what would be best effective on whichever table they think they're most likely going to want to play on. The teams will decide for themselves who's being assigned to what sector and who will be given what mission. So that is the event, the narrative event. It's called Operation Sabre, and I am really looking forward to seeing the guys play, especially here, because we tested these trenches out with the barbed wire in place, and it turned out that it was a bloodbath. The Allies, Dave defended, Joker attacked. The Allies took both bunkers, but the Germans took them back, and there was very few units left on the table at the end of that fight. So pretty effective, even though it was a very small area on the table. It offered some real good excitement, and of course there's plenty of other objectives on the table. So this is going to be an interesting one to see how the players on both sides tackle. All right, well, I hope this gives you kind of a reason for why there's been so few videos, or I should say no videos, for the last several months. But we'll be back to our regular scheduled programming over the course of October and going on. So hope you guys enjoyed seeing these previews of these tables, and look forward to seeing you in the next, whatever the videos come out next. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.